Hello, hi everybody. Myself Halawat Ramesh. Today we will discuss about the today class school level basics concept of chemistry, especially in what is element, what is compound, what is mixture, and what are the chemical bonds. We will discuss in briefly only definition and a few of the example. And the next class we will go through it the in detail about the what are the elements and number of example. So now we will move into that, and these basics concept are very useful for IIT, JE mains advance and NEET for medical entrance exams, and even school level many competitive exams like Olympiad exams, chemistry Olympiad exams, also national international levels. So now we will discuss in the what is elements, what are the compounds, and what we will call mixtures and chemical bondings. So now you can see the first slides, especially when you go into that, first what is the definition of science. See what is the chemistry you need to understand. So in introduction you can see any science in a systematic study of experimentation, observation and drawing inference. So any type of subject you can take, there is the subject is contained experimentation, observation and drawing the inference. So the chemistry is one of the branch of science that deals with the systematic study of the composition of matter and the reaction that takes place between the matter. So simple, that is the main concept of the chemistry subject in school levels. And before we are going to discuss about the in brief, the first is the what is atom. That is very important. First of all, what is atom you need to understand to further for going to the higher studies. So first, what is atom? The word atom comes from the Greek word atoms, means indivisible. That is that point. So atom means nothing but of indivisible. So it was proposed first by John Dalton, an English scientist who proposed in 1808 the matter consists of very small particles is called as atom. As for his ideology, what is atom means, the atom in the sense it is one of the very small particles. Well, according to the Dalton's of, if matter is divided into smaller and smaller parts, but we will finally get very small particles that cannot be divided any further. Next one, Dalton called a small particles of matter that was not indivisible any further has an atom. So Dalton studies matter and put forth its finding in the theory called as Dalton atomic theory. So that was the first proposed by the what is atom, and the Dalton atomic theory, he said one of the small particles is called as a atom. And day after going on that number of years, then some postulates he brought the Dalton's atomic theory. So the Dalton atomic theories, what are the main points? You can see here clearly. So matter is made up of very tiny particles called atoms. And second one point is atoms are indivisible. Third one point is atoms cannot be created or destroyed. The fourth one point is atom of the same element are identical in mass and other properties. Atoms of different elements differ in their mass and properties. So further scientific studies, number of scientific scientists are came out about the what is matter, what are the atoms, and then they find their own ways, different ideologies. Now you can see here the further scientific study showed that atoms could be divided into further into still smaller particles. But what the John Dalton said, atom is cannot be destroyed and it is the one of the smallest tiny particles who cannot divided. But here is saying many scientists, they work on the John Dalton theory, atomic theory, and they find few points. You will see here 1852, the Plucker and the Goldstein in 1876 showed all the atoms contains negatively charged particles. Thus they showed that the atoms could be divided or split to produce these negatively charged particles. That is the statement they find in 1876. But in 1897, J.J. Thomson, he is one of the great scientists, called these negatively charged particles are called electron. He further put forth the idea that the atom was a positively charged solid balls, like with the negatively electron scattered inside it. So only the later the Rutherford in 1911 and Neil Bohr in 1912 and Chadwick 1932, these all the scientists combined, they brought a one concurrent statement, that is the all atoms are made up of three particles. One is the electron, second one is the proton, third one is the neutron. All matters or all atoms made up of in a three particles. One is the electron, protons and neutrons. That is they've been the final statement in 1932. Now you can see here our statement, the atoms are actually made up of negatively charged particles, that is called electrons. Suppose what is electron, somebody asks you, you can see the simple definition, the negative charged particles is called electron. And what are the positive charged particles is called proton. Neutral charged particles is called neutron. Simple definition. Now is clear cut. What is electron? What is proton? What is neutron? Electron in the sense the negative charge particles is called electron and positive charge is called as protons and the neutral charge particles is called neutrons. So that is that about the brief introduction basics of about the atoms. Now we will go some detail about the what is matter, right? So all materials around us are made up of matters. Books, table, chair, air we breathe and water we drink, food we eat, our body, the sun, the moon, the earth are all are made up of matter. Let us define matter. Matter is anything that occupies space, has a mass and can be perceived by our sense. Thus, these three essential conditions for something to be called matter, they are shows as follow. It must occupy space, it must have mass and we must be able to perceive by our sense, like we able to touch and able to smell and see the taste. So we see so many different kinds of matter around us. So different kinds of matter differ from each other in their composition and properties. So they differ in color, size, weight, volume, composition, melting point, boiling point and soiling, like solubility in water. So beside these difference, they differ from each other in many ways. So this is that about the matter, right? Now you can go for the our ideology. What is elements? This is also one of the basic words, especially repeated words in chemistry. So elements are simple pure substance made up of only one kind of particles that cannot be decomposed or divided into further simpler substance by physical or chemical method is called elements. So that is the main concept of element. You can see the best example of elements: oxygen, nitrogen, carbon, hydrogen, iron, copper, gold, silver, etc. So elements are the pure substance that are made up of small particles is called as atoms. We already discussed it in the first slide. Now is clear about the elements. Now we'll move on to the what is compound. So elements exist in free state as well as in a combined state also, right? So when the element exist in the combined state, it is actually the atoms of specific elements that combine to form what Dalton's called as compound atom. A compound is a pure substance formed by the chemical combination of atom of different elements in a mixed ratio by mass. So that is that brief introduction. What is the compound? So you can see the best example of compound, chalk, like chalk powder, chalk piece. You can see it is the compound made up of the atoms calcium and the carbon and oxygen combined in the ratio of 10:3:12 by the weight. Another one best example is carbon dioxide. Is the compound is made up of atoms of carbon and oxygen combined in the ratio is 3:8 by weight. So these are the about the what is compound and various examples. Now we can see what is molecules. This is also very important. So molecules are the simplest particles of a pure substance that can exist independently. That is the difference. And in the made up of two or more atoms combined chemically in a fixed proportion by weight and exhibit all the properties of the pure substance. That is called as a molecules. Now idea, okay? The molecules are the simplest particles in the pure substance, right? And it is may exist in a independently. You can see the best example, water molecules. Each molecules of water consists of two atoms of hydrogen and one atom of oxygen. The two elements hydrogen and oxygen combine the ratio 1:8 by the compound form a water molecule. Water molecule can exist independently. Now going for the mixture. So this is very important. So what is mixture? Suppose you can see here the what is mixture point. The mixture is a substance made up of two or more elements or compound mixed together in proportional to, it's not a, that is not fixed, there is a different format. So that is called as a mixture. Again you can see mixtures are mainly two types depending on their composition. One is the homogeneous mixture, another one is the heterogeneous mixture. Again is a few classification of mixtures. This is very important. Solid mixtures, solid liquid mixture, liquid mixture, solid gas mixture, and liquid gas mixture, gas mixture. This is the about the mixtures, what is a mixture and types of mixture and various different kinds of mixtures. Now you can go for another one is the separation of mixture. Mixture in the sense this have the varieties of different components together form a one compound that is called as a mixture. So the often we need to separate the constituent of mixture to separate unwanted constituent from the useful component of the mixture. Suppose one is the sublimation and second one is the evaporation, third one is the distillation, fourth one is the filtration. These are the different methods to use the separation of mixture from the mixture. Okay, you will go through it and I wrote here the some examples of various methods for the separation mixture. Now you can see sedimentation and decantation. Another one separation technique. And you can see next one separation of liquid mixture. Okay, this is the another one method for the separation of mixtures. Now you can see here what is ions, what is cations, what is valency, what is atomic weight and molecular weight. So what is ions? If the atom gains of electron, the atom gets negative charge. Such negative charge atoms is called as a ions or negative ions. Now another one is the what is cations? Simple, opposite, positive charge. What is valency? Valency is the number of electron lost or gains of the atom element in valency cell, right? What is atomic weight? What is atomic here? Given the formulas you can see here. Now you can see here atomic properties. So atomic properties have atomic radius, ionization energy, electron affinity, electronegativity, metallic character, non-metallic character. Okay, these are that one. Then you can see come here, you will discuss another one important term in chemistry is chemical bonding. So chemical bonding again two types, ionic bond and covalent bond. Here written is very clear what is chemical bond in details and example also. So sharing of electrons between the two atom molecules. depending on their right. So if you like this video, please